We have lots to discuss here in today's video, including some trade talk around a handful of teams. Today we're taking a look at the New York Rangers, some potential significant moves that might come that could even be significant enough to include former first overall pick Alexis Lafreniere. There's also some talk out of Utah that Nick Schmaltz might be on his way out. We'll discuss how contract extension talks went and where things stand and why we believe the trade could come sooner than later. And Sabres goaltender Devin Levi, sounds like he may have requested a trade. We'll discuss that scenario. Plus, we have some big updates as well on the NHL waiver wire. We had some signings earlier regarding Thomas Harley, Logan Cooley, and a big update with regards to Brad Marchand and his leave of absence from the Florida Panthers. We now know a little bit more of what's going on and what he's up to, and it's a heartwarming story that he's helping out a real close friend due to a family tragedy. We'll discuss that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. I do want to kick things off with news from the NHL waiver wire. And in the video I put out earlier, talked about the Cooley and Harley signings and news from the waiver wire. I did have at that point indicate that there was looked like Alex Texier, the Blues, was on waivers. That's not the case. So I want to correct that from earlier. I did see some reports suggesting Texier was on waivers today, but I've been able to research that further, and it doesn't appear that was accurate. Minnesota Wild, though, they do have Michael Milne on waivers. So that's the player that's on waivers here today. Trent Miner of the Avalanche was on waivers yesterday. He was not picked up and has been reassigned to the AHL, but the stuff on Texier was not legit. So just ignore that from earlier. Just wanted to correct that piece from my earlier video. As I mentioned, in that video, we'll just quickly recap the signings today: Logan Cooley and Thomas Harley. In last night's video, I did talk about the speculation that a Harley extension was getting close. 8-year deal at $10.587 million per season. Very much front-loaded. Lots of signing bonus money in there as well. Great deal, I think, overall for the Dallas Stars. He has become a huge part of that team. Team has been very successful the last number of years. And obviously, he'll be their highest paid defenseman now. Obviously, even surpassing Miro Heiskanen, who has a very team-friendly deal at this point. I know when he first signed it, again, like some of these deals that are a few years old now, you might have questioned it at the time, but with the cap rising, the level that it has, and what's expected to do in the next couple of years, on top of some of these players getting better and better performances. Some of these deals from a few years ago look pretty low now. Certainly don't hear people questioning if they were good deals or not. But this deal for Harley should age well as well. I think, honestly, it's a fair deal from the get-go, and if he continues to progress the way he has, I think he'll be poised to play, top-level minutes for them for an extended period of time. Had a chance to be part of Team Canada at the Four Nations. He'll be in the mix for the Olympics. He's really come a long way and become a huge part of the Dallas Stars team. So, again, I think it's a great signing for both sides there. And Utah has come to terms with its top centerman, Logan Cooley. Of course, a very high pick from a few years ago, has really excelled and progressed into being a real solid NHL player. He's a star in the making, in my opinion. Has signed an $80 million contract. It's 8 years, $10 million per season. There was no signing bonus money in this contract. Very much front-loaded, all salary. In the first 3 years, he's going to make $35 million in salary. Then in year 4, he makes another 10. So by the time you get halfway through, he'll have $45 million in salary paid out. So certainly it's a bit of a lower amounts in the back end, but year 8 it's up to 10.5. So years 5, 6, and 7 dips down. He does get trade protection, 16 team no trade from years 5 through 8, which is when he's eligible to have that in there. Harley as well, just to mention him, he get a no move clause completely, full no move, years 4 through 8. They are a year apart, which is why Harley, being a year older, can get that in the contract a little bit sooner. Some other injury moves and or injury notes and roster moves. The Maple Leafs tonight are going to be without William Nylander. He's a late scratch. He did play yesterday, but of course is still kind of recovering from a lower body injury. So because they're on a back-to-back, the team felt it was wise to hold him out tonight to give him a little bit more recovery time. Sammy Blais is going to make his Maple Leafs debut. Of course, he had signed in the offseason with Montreal and then got picked up on waivers by the Leafs. Of course, Blais used to play for head coach Craig Berube when they were both members of the St. Louis Blues. John Hayden back to the American Hockey League with the Seattle Kraken. The Vegas Golden Knights have sent Jacob Kumenga back to the American Hockey League as well. And we also got a pretty serious update on Zach Hyman. Not good news either. Zach Hyman, of course, recovering from wrist surgery in the offseason, was targeting a November 1st return for Edmonton. And now it's sounding like he's going to be at least an extra week. So he will not be returning as quickly as the team had hoped. So that's certainly not good. Now, as I mentioned, we did talk in the last day or two here. We got word that Brad Marchand was taking a leave of absence from the Florida Panthers, and it was due to it made it sound like it could be like a death in the family or a death connected to him in some capacity. The reports didn't sound like it was his immediate family, so we didn't really know what was going on. In the case of those cases, like, you don't really get much details. You don't have to either. That's personal, private information. They can talk about it if they want to, but they're not obligated by any means. I don't think they should ever have to reveal any of that stuff if they don't want to. But a lot of other news has kind of come out locally. Brad Marchand is actually back home in Nova Scotia, in the Halifax area where he grew up, and obviously still spends time in the summer. But what happened, we do know a little bit more, and this is going to be a very it's a tragic situation, but it's going to really show you that as much as Brad Marchand can be an antagonist on the ice, and a lot of people have thought what they wanted about him over the years. You might not always like how he plays, but it just goes to show you another great example that he is a really good person off of the ice, and it goes to show you what he's doing. So Brad Marchand is going to be actually tonight a guest coach for the U18. One of the U18 Halifax area teams called they're named after their sponsor. It's called Marsh and Mill Hunters. Now, Marsh and Mill, you might know that name. That's an apparel company owned by Brad Marchand and former Bruins teammate Kevin Miller. So they are the sponsor for this hockey team. So they are, in the team name. So the U18 Marsh and Mill Hunters plays in the U18 Nova Scotia League. So their head coach, JP McCallum, is longtime relationship, longtime close friends, and a trainer to Brad Marchand and others, including Andrew Bodnarchuk. Now, Bodnarchuk might be a name you recognize as well. He grew up in the same area with Brad Marchand. They've been friends since they were quite young. They both ended up playing the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. They were teammates for a while as well. They were both drafted by the Bruins. Of course, Marchand went on to bigger and better things, and Bodnarchuk currently is playing pro-level hockey over in Germany. Now, they both dropped everything when this tragedy hit. So JP's 10-year-old daughter, Sela, has unfortunately passed away. Now, she had a long battle with cancer. It's one of those really sad scenarios. You never want to see anybody go through that, especially a kid. It's just not fair. Life is completely unfair in that regard. They had started, I think it was Bodnarchuk had started a GoFundMe before, and I think they raised thousands of dollars. I think it was up around $95,000 that they had helped raise for the family so that she could kind of live as best as she could and take the pressure off of them. To be able to provide as much life as they could for her while she had time and while she was with us here. So, of course, JP and his wife, they're both self-employed as well, so taking time off is extremely difficult. Of course, they would lose money. I'm not aware of what the wife does, but JP obviously works in the training world, and this is his first season as head coach of this U18 team. So Brad Marchand and Andrew Bodnarchuk tonight are going to be guest coaches for that team so that JP doesn't have to worry about coaching tonight. He can spend with his family as they deal with this incredible loss of their 10-year-old daughter, which is just incredibly sad story. But of course, they're doing some more fundraising for the family as well. Marchand has donated some signed items, I believe a signed jersey that they're raffling off. There's donation boxes in the arena as well at the Halifax Forum tonight. And they're continuing to raise money. But Marchand and Bodnarchuk became friends with JP back, like I said, when they were in their early teens. And they've worked with him. And of course, through that, became really good friends. And have known each other, I think, it was between 20, almost 25 years since they were in their early teens. Like I said, Marchand, of course, was with the Panthers. Bodnarchuk playing over in Germany. And when they got word that, his daughter, Sela, had tragically passed away, they dropped everything, got home as soon as they could. Obviously I don't know that he necessarily went home thinking he was going to be a coach. He just went home to support his very close friend. And, she knew a lot of the other players and people in the hockey world that JP's connected to. And she loved being a part of that U18 team as well with the dad and being around the sport. So it's just, it's tragic in so many ways. But it just goes to show you that, Marchand, of course, has a big heart and is doing what he can to help out one of his close friends in a very tragic situation. So I'm not sure. It's not clear exactly when Marchand will return to the Panthers. I don't think they play for a couple more days. I think they play on the weekend. So I don't know if he'll be back for that or afterwards. But I guess, just a heartwarming story that how him and another good friend is back home in Halifax to help their great friend who suffered incredible loss, and just kind of being there and helping the team be able to continue on doing what they got to do, even though the coach is obviously dealing with something pretty serious here. But I mean, obviously the players would have all known him and the family, and they around the kids and stuff. So it's like they're all connected to this. But it goes to show that the world of hockey is, sometimes it feels like a big family. Sometimes you think there's so many people, but it really is. It feels like a small knit family in some ways, and got to look after each other. So just wanted to share that story about what Marchand's doing why he's away from the Panthers, and just what kind of person he really is off the ice. So our condolences to JP. It's real sad news on his daughter, and I guess we'll kind of see where everything goes. We're not sure exactly when Marchand will return to the Panthers, but like I said, a terrible situation. As a dad myself, I can't imagine what he's going through. JP deserves some time and not have to worry about certain things right now, because I can just imagine. Like I said, even though she was sick and dealing with things, I don't think that always makes it any easier to deal with at all. So just our complete sympathies and thoughts are with that family, and good on Marchand and his buddy Andrew for getting back home to help out their buddy and his family as soon as they possibly could. Now, on to some other NHL trade talk around the NHL. Some different stuff we're going to talk about here today. Where the Utah Mammoth, of course, made a massive signing today with Logan Cooley. Now, could another top player of theirs and a centerman, Nick Schmaltz, maybe be on the way out? Dave Pagnotta is reporting that the Mammoth and Schmaltz camp actually had contract extension talks a lot in the summertime, and they went absolutely nowhere. They were nowhere close to getting a deal done. Of course, Nick Schmaltz had signed a long-term deal coming out of his rookie contract with the Arizona Coyotes back when they were there, and we're coming to the end of that now. He's got 1 year left, eligible for an extension. They held talks. Clearly, the team has interest to keep him. He's been a real good player for them. But obviously, to some degree, they've taken on a lot of money. They've brought in players from other teams. It seems like, a move might be more likely than not at this point. Pagnotta is reporting that because extension talks went so poorly and went to the way they were, that they did indeed hold trade conversations with other teams around this player. And he even provided a list. Now, I don't know how deep the list is and how many teams are on it, but he did provide them with a list of teams that he would consider signing a contract extension with if they wanted to trade him and do like a sign and trade to increase his value to get a better return for the team, trying to work together to facilitate that. So, that sure doesn't sound promising that his future is in Utah. And if it's not, there's going to be a lot of interest in this player, I have to think. There's a lot of teams out there we know that are looking for scoring forwards, especially guys that can play center. And, he's still at a decent enough age that he's got a lot of hockey left. Could be a decent bargain. I don't know what kind of trade return to be looking at, but Nick Schmaltz very well might be an interesting name to watch here over the next few months. Now, I suspect in Utah's case, they want to get into the playoffs this year. They want to take a big step forward. I mean, there's always a possibility things could change on extension talks, but barring that doesn't happen, I would think Utah is going to be looking for very much a hockey trade. I can't see them trading a player and taking a step back. They're not going to weaken themselves in a year that they want to take a big step forward and get into the playoffs. There's always the possibility that maybe they hold on to him and they trade him in the offseason before his UFA rights are expired. I don't know. But if something's going to happen during the season, I would think that they're going to want a player coming back that they feel can help them as well. That might have some term in their contract. So an interesting name to watch here in the coming weeks as the NHL gets a little further along in the season and as teams get a little bit more antsy to make a move. Now, we've also heard lots of chatter around the Rangers. Of course, they've had not a great start to the season. A lack of scoring has been a big part of that. Dave Pagnotta also reporting on the fact that the Rangers were having a lot of conversations in the offseason about making some significant moves and wondering how far they should go. There was some belief that they were willing to consider trades as far and as significant as moving former first overall pick Alexis Lafreniere. Now, at this point, Lafreniere's had another slow start. Like I said, he had really a bit of a breakout season, got his contract extension, and then things are really slowed down again for him. He's only got 1 goal and 3 assists in 11 games so far this year. This is not all on him. I honestly wondered for a while about, did they go about things properly with his development? Would a fresh start, new scenery help reignite him? Like, what is the case here? Why is Lafreniere not turning out to be the star player that a lot of people thought he would become when he was drafted first overall back in, 2020, I believe it was. So, that was, a really good-looking player coming out of junior. Like, he had a very dominant junior season. And he's had flashes of this, but he can't seem to sustain it. So I don't know what the future holds here with the Rangers. Again, basically Pagnotta saying that, with a slow start and lots of question marks, we've heard about the future of Artemi Panarin. Will they go to him and talk about a trade? He's going to have control over that. But again, extension talks didn't go well with him. Could they also explore some kind of move involving Lafreniere? You have to think that everything is basically going to be on the table if another, not so good season. They've already changed the coach again. They made a significant move last year. If things are still not getting better, they're going to have to continue trying to change the mix. So I really think a Lafreniere trade is getting more and more realistic as time goes on. And another name to watch that we have touched on before, but it was really not with as much information, but the guys from the After the Whistle podcast, who of course have a lot of connections to the Sabres, former players as well, say that they've heard that Devin Levi has asked for a trade from the Sabres after he was returned to Rochester as the season was getting going. So Levi is going to be looking at the roster and looking at everything that the Sabres have done going, I don't think they have plans for me. Like, obviously they have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. We know that. He signed a longer-term deal in about a year or so ago, right? So there was that. That probably concerned him a little bit, but there's obviously 2 goalies on the roster, so it's not the end of the world. But then they signed Alex Lyon in the offseason. I thought, okay, well, that might just be some insurance in case Levi's not ready. Lyon only signed for 1 year. But then they brought in Colton Ellis. And Ellis was a younger goalie that they got off waivers, and it's from all reports indicate that a goaltender that they've kind of had their eye on and really like. So I'm like, now they've got 3 goaltenders capable of the NHL plus Levi in the minors. Like, yeah, I can understand his desire to play, and he's probably looking at this roster going, there's no room for me. Like, you guys have boxed me out. And he's got really good AHL numbers. Now, I know Sabres fans are going to, and it seems like, and I don't get this either, it seems like I've seen a lot of Sabres fans on social media with a lot of hate towards some of these players that have either left their team. Like, the hate I see towards Dylan Cousins is unreal. Like, the number of people posting, trying to find every stat imaginable that might reflect negatively on Cousins and just tearing him to shreds all the time on social media. I don't get it. He's been a real good player for the Senators to start the season. Appears to be somebody who is thriving in Ottawa. Yeah, is all of his stats perfect? No, of course not. If you really want to pick apart any player and go through all the analytics and the deep data and stuff, you probably can find something on anybody if you really want to pick on them. But the vitriol towards this guy, I just don't get it. And I've seen, because I've commented about Levi before, wondering, Why is he not getting more of a chance? And a lot of fans kind of seem to attack him, saying, have you seen his results in the NHL? Have you not watched Sabres? Yes, I have. I see the Sabres play all the time. And I understand that Levi might not have a great record in results at the NHL level, but I also understand that he's a young goaltender. They probably rushed him a little bit in the beginning, and then they slowed him down to the point that he's done really well at the AHL. And I just can't believe, my take is I can't believe they haven't been ready to give him another chance yet. Like, how long is it going to take? He's not going to wait forever. You know, he was a prized goaltending prospect out of college, had a remarkable college career, was the big piece that came from Florida in the Sam Reinhart trade. I just don't understand why all these other goaltenders are getting a chance, but he's not. Like, yeah, I get it. He had chances before, wasn't great, but he's put in a lot of time and a lot of work since then. Give the kid a chance or trade him is basically where things are at with him, and I don't blame him. There's teams out there with goaltending question marks at this rate. Like I said before, I wondered, he does have connections to Ottawa. I know they have question marks right now with Ullmark and Marilainen. Could they maybe make a move there? The Oilers have question marks around Skinner and Pickard. So you got to wonder about Edmonton. I mean, they already picked up Connor Ingram earlier in the year, who they have at the AHL. So again, they might want somebody more established. There's other teams too. Like, there's definitely teams I think that would give you a decent return on Levi if they want to pull the trigger. So if he wants out, it's definitely another name to watch here in the coming weeks as we get a little deeper into the season and teams have more of a need. So we'll see what happens, but keep your eye on Levi and the Sabres. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I will catch you next time.